WhiskyJason here, whiskey from the viewpoint of an American in Germany tasting rare and exotic whiskeys. Today I'm in Scotland, today I'm in the Lowlands, today I'm at a brand new distillery for me, Annandale. So I have today the Man O' Ward. This is the unpeated variation. The Man O' Sword with the S is a peated variation. I'll have to take a look at that in a moment. Both of these are STRs, both of these are single cask releases. This is single cask release number 321. So this was distilled on the 16th of March 2017. This was bottled on the 12th of June 2020. As I said, it's STR shaved, toasted, recharred. These are ex-red wine casks that actually Jim Swan brought into existence. This is not raw, this is not peated. 62.1%, whiskey base number 161968. So, the very interesting thing is Professor Dr. David Thompson started Annandale together with his wife, Teresa Church, 2014. And the really interesting thing is the Annandale Distillery was already in existence. Between 1836 and 1918, it actually was a distillery. Johnny Walker bought it back then, and after World War I, they closed it in 1918. In between, it was actually a part of the Robinson family, which is important for porridge and oats and so on in that area. And then 2014, Dr. David Thompson had the idea of let's create a distillery. His wife wanted to restore things. And so he did this. Now, the first thing he did as a good professor is he did a little bit of scientific research. So he actually asked a research company responsible for consumer goods. They do like coffee, and they've done soft drinks. They've done other things. They did a market test. He gave them, I think, 40 different single malts, and they had a matrix. The matrix was peated, not peated, sherry, not sherried. And they put the 40 different ones on that flavor wheel, basically. Boom, 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 boom. And what they noticed was at the bottom part, that floral fruity part. So the non-peated as well as the peated was basically blank. And so they're like, hey, this is going to be our UPS, our unique selling position. So he then got in contact with Dr. Jim Swan, back then the guy who helped Cavalon, Coswolds, Kilchoman, Annandale, and dozens of other distilleries, it feels like. And he actually said, hey, can we make a whiskey according to this flavor profile? He was like, are you willing to do bum, bum, bum? Of course. And he's like, yes, we can. And so, yes, they did. So the very interesting thing is it is designed the entire distillery to make this flavor profile. And they can use it for the peated as well as the non-peated whiskeys. And so they have one big wash still, big, well, 12,000 liters. And they have two small 4,000 liter spirit stills. Sounds a little bit like the setup in Macallan. For each and every wash still, there's a double 2 spirit stills. So, very, very interesting going back into history here. In 1887, there was a book named The Whisky Distilleries of the UK from Alfred Barnard, and he actually wrote that back then Blatnoch and also Annandale were both using peat to fire their stills. Why? Because they were living in an area, or they were located in an area that had a lot of bogs and moors, and they were actually able to get the peat and use it as a heating moment. Where I came from in Pennsylvania, USA, we had a lot of woods, so we'd go out and we'd chop firewood. They didn't have forests, so what did they do? They went out and got the peat, dried it, and then used it in the winter, or in the summer when it's 5 degrees outside, which has happened before. All right, very, very good. What else can I mention here before I go in here? Oh, one little tiny fun fact is Annandale in the year 2017 actually went to Jose Miguel Martin and by Jerez and said, hey, we need 90 STR casks. Each of them had 230 liters, and so they actually bought those 90 casks. And on the way back shaved. You shave it out so that actually a little bit of the red wine is still in the wood. You toast it so that everything caramelizes again, beautiful. And then you kiss it with the flame of, with the tongue of the flame, and you char it. And what was very interesting is they put a little bit of oloroso in the casks to transport them back to Scotland from Portugal. All right, so everything, or basically everything they do at Annandale is going to be cask strength, which I think is great. Their 2014 and 15s were called the Vintage, and the 2016s and 17s were called, or now called, the Founders Selection, which I have. I paid €100 for this, $99.90 for this. I don't know if it's worth it or not. We'll see. Oh, nice, very fruity. All right, so I'm going to compare it. As you know, I like to almost always compare it with something. And I have here the Cosworths, which was also the Founders Selection. And this was also only matured in STR casks. Same exact thing that Jim Swan did with Cosworths. He did also with Annandale, and he did with other places as well. And so we have a worthy competitor today. I actually like this a lot. I love the STR character. I like the high strength, 60.9, 62.1. Wow. This at least has a little bit of box. This just came without a box. All right, so I have a bottle number 127. So we have the STR Cask. We have 62.1%. We have the Founders Selection. A nice little thing here. All right, so let's try it. Nosing. They're going for the fruity floral moments, and they really, really got it. Oh, and the interesting thing is they use 2 different types of yeasts. And I think that's the reason they got the fruitiness. They have a maturation time between 72 and 90 hours. And I really need to brush up on my yeast. I'm not a yeast expert yet. And all the information I read didn't tell me what type of 2 yeast they used. I do know that there's a brewer's yeast and there's a winery's yeast. And they have 2 different yeast strains, and I know the first one kicks in the beginning and the next one actually continues on the process later on. And they have different environments that they thrive in. The amount of sugar, the amount of CO2, the warmth, and so on, everything is there. And whenever a yeast eats sugar, it turns into alcohol and it produces CO2 and heat. And so we have to actually make sure that the temperature here does not go up too high. Now in Scotland, normally not a problem, also in the summer times. In Germany, for example, we had 40 degrees Celsius, which is 100 degrees Fahrenheit, and yeast dies at that temperature. Anything above 85 is 30-some degrees Celsius, and not very happy with it. And so you need to keep that temperature down, so you cool sometimes your washbacks there. All right, good. Now, this is what something has challenged me. I did my German video, now I'm doing my English video. And I really must admit that almost the amount of fruitiness almost overwhelms me. Now, I've had fruitiness before from a Sultan cask. I've had fruitiness from port. I've had fruitiness from sherry, from oloroso, from fino, from polo cortato. All these different things. I've more or less figured out many of those things. This is different. And it's so different that I'm being challenged in I have to expand my horizon. I have to think a little bit outside my comfort zone with this one. But I like it a lot. Okay, we get some prunes. I get some blackberries. I get some honey. Nice. All right, just going over to the STR here. It's different. It's sweeter. It's not fruitier, it's sweeter. Now, trying to explain what the difference is, of course you understand, but the difference between fruity and sweetie. All right, take for example strawberries. Strawberries are very fruity. What do we often do the first thing when we have strawberries? Sugar. So we make the fruity sweet. Many people like that. Me too. I'm more of a sweet person. I do put sugar on my strawberries if I can. I put sugar on my blueberries sometimes. All right, and I'm sorry. And then you really have to think about what is the fruitiness. Yes, there's some fruit sugar in there, but yet the fruitiness is not a sweetiness on all by itself. Very, very unique and very, very interesting. If I go back to the website here from Annandale, I actually have here the bottle. Annandale has so few bottles that they actually have this bottle still there. So they say in the nose they get spicy hits of cinnamon and nutmeg, precede creamy vanilla, butterscotch, and sweet caramelized Demerara sugar. So sweet, 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 spicy. But what I get, and this is the interesting thing, I want to taste this here. As I said, 62.1%. Cheers. A tad too much alcohol, but not much. It is amazing how new distilleries can cleanly cut their whiskey and use expertly assembled and prepared casks to produce whiskey that can be not just palatable, but enjoyable after 3 years. Wow, this is good. And the tasting note that I could not put my finger on, I got blackberry, I got a little bit of apples and pears, I got here strawberries, I got a little bit of the prunes in there. The moment that I tasted that, it was like something's weird in here. And I couldn't put my finger on it. And I read the palate tasting notes here, and it says, hot melted butter initially coats the palate, followed by... And then we have pears and strawberries and apples and blackberries and prunes and honeydew melon, which I don't get. But 5 or 6 I get. It's like, butter. Yeah, it's that hot melted butter you put on popcorn or on lobster or crabs or whatever else you eat with hot melted butter. And I was like, wow, that's exactly right. I've never had that before in a whiskey. This is unique. This is good. This is crazy interesting. It's outside the box. And I suspect that the peated whiskey is going to actually be even better, and I don't like peat, with that creamy, fruity, buttery type of moment. Let's see. Coswolds, 60.9, I'm sorry. More wood, more estrogens. I like this as well. This is different. It's drier, but there's a nice moment of like a clementine, a mirabella, a very small prune. Not prune, a very small plum. It's got a yellow plum moment with a little bit of clementines. I like. And it's amazing that both of these are over 60%, and I'm just drinking them as God made them and going yummy, yummy, yummy. And that is very, very, for me at least, unusual because I love putting water in whiskey and diluting it down and being at 48% and so on. And this 60+% whiskey is just adorable. So I think the industry is going to learn a lot from these guys and change some of the things they have done and are going to do in the future. Put a little bit of water in this one, give my final opinion to it. That's going to take it down to maybe 55%. The vanilla opens up on the nose with water. Cheers. My German video, I gave it a B-, C++. The more I taste it, the more I like it. I'm going to give it a B. I think this is a whiskey that is different. I think this is a whiskey, I'm really going to go out on the ledge here, and say I think this is the whiskey the world has been waiting for. The fruitiness of this whiskey is unique. And I like a lot. Now, the €100 price tag for a 3-year-old cask strength whiskey, it's not even an inaugural release, it's a single cask. That's too much. Sorry, it's going to still be a D+ for value for money. C-. It's a C- for value for money. A, why haven't you bought it? B, buy it. C, you can buy it if you want. D, you don't need it. And F, why was it even made? This is something you should look out for. I have no idea about the release around the world. I do know that it's available in the UK. I do know that it's available in Germany. We have a good distributor and importer here at the moment that's doing this. And I do think it's going to be in other places in the world, but it's going to take maybe a year or two before it reaches some places like America, like Australia, like maybe Eastern Europe, and maybe other places in the world as well. I am privileged to have had the chance to try this, and I am absolutely thrilled about the future of Annandale. I'm actually considering buying a cask there and actually letting it mature for 5-8 years and see what's going to happen there. Wow. All right, all the best. See you soon. WhiskyJason here. Please like, please subscribe, please share this video. Help to create a certain excitement for Annandale so that they make it to your market also sooner than expected. See you soon. WhiskyJason here. Bye-bye.